There is a political feud developing between ODM chairperson Gladys Wanga and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and judging by the language coming from both sides, this is unlikely to disappear anytime soon.
Nimeona Gachagua sahi akisema ati mimi sijui na nani, sijui tumepanga goons wapi, sijui na wapi. Gachagua, mimi nataka utoe jina yangu kwa mdomo yako. Na pia utoe jina ya baba Raila Odinga kwa mdomo yako. Wewe kabla baba apumzike ulisema utarudisha baba Bondo. Siku moja asubuhi saa 11 uliingia ofisi wakati tulikuwa tunaenda maandamano. Na ukasema ya kwamba baba ni nani? Atakufa watu walie siku 3, dunia iendelee. Siku hiyo baba akapigwa risasi 8 gari yake. Hatujasahau. Wewe Gachagua, haujawahi fika mahali baba alipumzika. Haujawahi muomboleza baba. Haujawahi fika Karen. Haujawahi fika Karen kwa mama Aida Odinga umwambie pole. Saa hii ukiamka unaweka siasa yako chafu, propaganda yako chafu ya ukabila kwa jina ya baba. Wewe hauna, you have nothing in common with baba Raila Odinga. And as an ODM party, we have nothing in common with you. Hakuna siku sisi tutaingia mahali ambaye Gachagua yuko kama chama cha ODM. Hakuna siku. And Gachagua, you are the father of goons. Na sahi nimesikia wale vibaraka vyako ambao umewatuma huko kwetu. Umetoa goons kutoka Githurai, ukatoa wengine kutoka Nyeri na mahali mengine, unawatuma hapa. Sisi ni watu wa amani. Tunakuomba usituletee mambo yako ya goons hapa. Sisi ni watu wa amani, wapenda amani. Usilete mambo yako Gachagua ya goons hapa kwetu. Watu wakija wakuje kwa amani, waongee kwa amani na waende kwa nini? Kwa amani. Tuatraki mambo yako. And Gachagua, there is no principle the ODM party shares with you. Na wewe nasikia ukisema ati ODM party imeisha, sijui imekufa. ODM party cannot be compared to your village party. ODM is a national party. It cannot be compared to your village party.
This latest confrontation started after Gachagua alleged that Wanga and Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omalo were behind plans to mobilize goons to disrupt the Linda Mwananchi rally in Homa Bay.
So far, no arrests have been made. Despite his assurances, I have credible intelligence that PS Raymond Omalo and Gladys Wanga have organized on Sunday goons to beat people and kill people in Homa Bay against Leader Mwananchi. I want to ask President William Ruto, can you instruct PS Raymond Omalo to stop organizing goons to attack Leader Mwananchi in Homa Bay? Can you instruct Gladys Wanga, the person you have promised to be your running mate, to stop organizing goons against?
From the response, Wanga rejects the allegation and, in return, accused Gachagua of sending youths from Githurai and Nyeri to Homa Bay to cause trouble. That exchange is important because it shows that this is no longer simply a disagreement between two politicians. There is now a deeper political contest over who controls the opposition narrative, particularly in areas where ODM remains influential. Wanga did not stop at the allegations about goons. She also challenged Gachagua over his repeated references to the late Raila Odinga. Her message was essentially this: if Gachagua did not stand with Raila during his final moments or visit his family to offer condolences, why is he now repeatedly invoking Raila's name in political arguments? This cuts Gachagua completely from the Luo nation. Wanga specifically pointed to Gachagua's failure to visit Ida Odinga and the Odinga family after Raila's death. She also brought back Gachagua's previous hostility toward Raila during the anti-government demonstrations, reminding him of remarks she says were made against the former opposition leader. Politically, this is a very calculated line of attack. Wanga understands that Raila's legacy remains emotionally powerful among many ODM supporters, and also in the Luo Nyanza region. Therefore, when Gachagua mentions Raila, ODM leaders have an incentive to ask whether he is genuinely defending Raila's legacy or simply trying to benefit politically from it. And this is where the larger political story becomes interesting. Gachagua and ODM come from completely different political traditions. Their current confrontation is also shaped by the events surrounding Gachagua's removal from office and the political alliances that existed inside Parliament at that time. There is a strong perception among Gachagua's supporters that ODM politicians played a role in the parliamentary process that eventually removed him from the deputy presidency. Whether every ODM politician personally supported every step of that process is a different question. But politically, Gachagua's camp clearly has reasons to view ODM with suspicion. That history helps explain why today's exchanges are so personal. For Gachagua, ODM represents part of the political establishment that he believes worked against him. For Wanga and ODM, Gachagua represents a politician who spent years attacking Raila and is now attempting to operate within the same opposition space that Raila once dominated. That creates an obvious contradiction that ODM can exploit, and Wanga appears to be exploiting it. Her argument is not simply that Gachagua is wrong about the alleged goons. She is questioning his credibility and political relationship with the very legacy he now references. The Raila burial issue therefore becomes politically significant. Gachagua's absence from Raila's burial and the fact that he did not visit Ida Odinga have become points that his opponents can repeatedly use against him. Wanga has now placed those issues directly into the political conversation. However, it is important to separate political interpretation from established fact. It would be too strong to say that every Luo voter will permanently reject Gachagua because he did not attend Raila's burial. Kenyan politics is more complicated than that. Voters can separate personal emotions from political interests, and electoral alliances frequently cross ethnic and historical boundaries. But there is no question that the issue can become a powerful political symbol. Raila was not simply another politician to many of his supporters. His death created a moment of grief, and his burial became a major political and emotional event. Any prominent politician who was absent can potentially be questioned about that absence. For ODM, that creates an opportunity. The party can portray itself as the custodian of Raila's political legacy while questioning the motives of politicians who previously opposed him but are now trying to appeal to his supporters. And Gachagua has a difficult political calculation to make. He needs to expand his support beyond his traditional Mount Kenya base if he wants to become a serious national presidential contender. That means reaching communities that historically supported Raila and ODM. But the more aggressively he enters those political spaces, the more he can expect ODM leaders to remind voters of his previous relationship with Raila. That is exactly what Wanga is doing. She is effectively saying, before Gachagua asks Raila's supporters for political support, they should remember his political history with Raila. This does not necessarily mean ODM and Gachagua can never work together. Kenyan politics has repeatedly demonstrated that yesterday's opponents can become tomorrow's allies. But for such an alliance to happen, there would have to be a significant political reconciliation. And right now, Wanga's language suggests the opposite. She is drawing a line. She is telling Gachagua to keep his distance from Raila's name, while simultaneously defending ODM's political ownership of the Raila legacy. That is why this confrontation matters beyond the exchange of insults. The real battle is about political inheritance. Who speaks for Raila's supporters? Who controls the opposition narrative? And who gets to enter the political space Raila left behind? Gachagua wants to build a national coalition capable of challenging President William Ruto in 2027. ODM, meanwhile, has its own interests and its own leadership ambitions. Those interests will inevitably collide. And when they do, the politics of Raila's legacy will become one of the most powerful weapons available to ODM. So Wanga's response should not be viewed merely as another political quarrel. It is a warning. She is telling Gachagua that if he wants to compete for influence in ODM's political territory, he should expect the party to remind voters of his past. And if this confrontation continues, the question will no longer be whether Wanga and Gachagua like each other. The bigger question will be whether their supporters can ever sit at the same political table. Because in Kenyan politics, today's enemy can become tomorrow's coalition partner. But before that happens, somebody usually has to explain why they were enemies in the first place. And Wanga has just made it clear that she intends to keep that history alive. Do you think Gachagua can win meaningful support from Raila's traditional supporters despite his strained relationship with ODM? Or will the Raila burial issue continue haunting his 2027 ambitions? Tell me what you think in the comments.